Hey, guys. Yes, it's alive. There's a live on this channel. Yes, Siren, I'm here. And I've got my dear, wait. One of those directions, that direction right there. We've got Sleuth Mom here too. And Sleuth, hello, my dear.
Hi, everyone. How's it going?
I'm so happy to see
So
you
excited to
again.
see you. I know, right? Look, I gotta figure this whole
I know
situation
you're,
out.
you're the the
Just like a,
disconnected. Even me, I ended up going into a different area because my place I normally go live is kind of a mess right
hmm
now.
hmm
It's like totally nuts. So I know you have some kiddos you're dealing with right now.
Yes.
And also you're going to be kind of in and out for a few minutes until they do everything that you're hoping they'll do. And also I guess what we'll do is start saying hi to a couple of you guys, and then I have some stuff and I'll say bye to my mom. Bye, mom. And also, we'll see how long the dogs behave. I just gave them all treats, but we'll see how long that lasts. So our first person in chat, I did ask everyone instead of any questions like I normally do, I was like, just say Ariel's name. Okay, we're 4 years into this. 4 freaking years. Those people out there who had a baby at the time Ariel went missing are literally having those children going to pre-K and kindergarten at this point. And Ariel still does not have justice. So I'm like, we are going to keep saying her name over and over and over. And guys, the reason why we're going live, the one thing that can get Miss Sleuth Mom and I back here together is we've got some great news. And we're going to go through all that great news here. But first person in chat to say her name today was our dear Seal. Agape, how you doing, my dear? Welcome. And we've got Siren. Agape saying hello to Miss Sleuth Mom. Robbie, love you, my dear. You know, I am so happy. I've got to find a way to get this. Many of you guys know I have taken on more duties at work. The consultant jobs that I had have now become actual jobs. So that's increasing. However, I'm going to try to figure out a way to get at least one time a week that I can go live. I'm really hoping I can pull this off. And hopefully today will be the first of those. I know Sleuth Mom's going to try to pull something off similar also. So we got Kathleen. Oh my God, these names. Oh my God, I love you guys. I miss you. And BC there with the Ariel and the Purple Heart for Ariel. Everyone knows Ariel loved the color purple. And Steph. Hi, Steph. Love you, my dear. And I think that's everyone who is here right now that I've said hi to. So what I want to do is, like I said, we've got a hell of a lot of news to go over with Ariel. I've been talking to family members, a lot of stuff that we've been trying to get focused at. Yes, Siren, I need to get to your son. Siren does some great karaoke lives. Really fun. Okay, I'm definitely usually I love those when I can make them. Okay, so show up in my place since I haven't been able to go lately. So I am singing in my car though while I'm driving from event to event. So that works. So Seal, I can't, yeah. And Sleuth Mom's going to be back. She's just getting the kiddos to bed. You know how that goes. It might be sunlight outside here. But it's not sunlight there. Nope, not at all. So, okay. Get a little sip of water there. And then as we go into this, I just wanted to remind you guys, this is a video that I actually went over. I actually drive right by this area of town, probably 3 to 4 times a week now, to get to work. So this is where Ariel lived the last couple years of her life. Okay, for those of you who may be catching Ariel's story for the first time, Ariel had way too short of a life. She passed away at 6 years old. Her life was taken away from her by the two people that the state put into their hands. They She was going to be their protector. The person who raised her to be the most amazing young woman possible. And they took every bit of that away from her and her siblings. Because, in all honesty, Ariel had siblings who, had to deal and are still dealing with all this. We are still waiting for trial. I've got news for you guys, though. We are in the middle of pre-trial now. How many times the Kaluas tried to get out of this? Oh, put us out on probation. Oh, I mean, bail. Give us bail. Give us bail. They went for bail how many times? It's like, no, no, no. How many times they kept putting off, hey, Cupcake, how you doing, Cupcake? And Red Rock and Cupcake. Oh my God, I love seeing you guys. I missed you all so bad. Oh my God, did I miss you guys so bad. How they have tried over and over. Okay, they have done everything in their. Oh, someone's right there, so feel free, jump in anytime. I saw this and saw your face. I'm like, she's back. Kids get to sleep. Maybe. Maybe
No,
not.
I'm still kind
No.
of muted but I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah, they're working on it. We literally stayed too long after church talking and then, just kind of ran in.
You
So,
got it. Yeah, I'm sending her messages. She's like, "Oh, I'm pulling up from church right now," and I'm like, "Haha, that sounds like me. There you go." So yeah, no problem. But yeah, no, they've tried how many times to get out of this? Okay, put off trial. 4 years later, we've got Ohio. All these other trials happen within a year, 2 years. We're 4 years later, and we haven't even gotten to opening statements and all. It's ridiculous. It should not happen. Then you get additional information going on where records have been requested. Many of you guys were there when I was over at the courthouse, and we were fighting to try to get Ariel's records released to her family so that they could see what happened to lead her from living with a family to being put in a foster type situation to all of a sudden being adopted. All of those records could not be shared with anyone. And we're going to kind of go over some of the reason behind that. A lot of people failed Ariel. And Agape, that ain't happening anymore. Okay, we've got a huge group of people here on the internet who are not going to stand by and let it happen. And there is a ohana in the true sense of the word ohana here on these islands, that are not going to let her be forgotten either. It's the same with Gianna. Gianna's case is still going on also. And so we're not going to let her be forgotten. So this is, many of you guys have seen the little area, and it is still set up. And sounds great. Drive safe, Steph. Drive safe. This was a gorgeous day, and I've been there on gorgeous days, rainy days. This day was absolutely wonderful. And it's a hard area. I've gotten to meet some of the people in that little quadrant of town, that little area of a couple different houses and all that. And it's a hard memory for a lot of them to always have to remember the horrors that happened next door or
right.
across the street. Yeah.
I can
And
only imagine. And I'm glad that they have continued this, right? And continued to put up this memorial for her because she's not going to be forgotten. And they're never going to stop pushing for justice. As much as Lehua wants to get out of prison and wants to be able to, try to pretend that she's not involved in this, and as much as, Sunny wants to pretend that they didn't do this, the evidence is there, and we're never going to stop pushing for justice. This entire island community is never going to stop, ever. And this just shows it. The fact that 4 years later, it's still there. People
yep,
still remember.
exactly. And it is hard. Okay, one of the people I've talked to, They understand while it's there. They keep hoping a day comes where justice happens. So the only just because right now the only justice we have is a reminder of what happened with having this little corner, okay, with the flags and the flowers and all that, but we can't forget it. And people do want to forget stuff. And unfortunately, there are some people like that even in town. And we always have to remind them no. Okay, there's been too many situations, and some of the stuff, by the way, hi Ringo. And there's been a lot with this case. And okay, you know what I'm talking about here, Sleuth. Hawaii has always kind of hidden a lot of the stuff that happens. Okay, we don't have the open net court system where we can sit here and watch trial happen. That does not happen here in Hawaii. Hey, I'll see true crime. Hey, hey. Um, Even to the point of getting papers released. Okay, we have had nothing but trouble trying to get information on what happened to this little girl released. Even forget us. Okay, forget Sleuth and me, okay, and everyone else sitting here. Her family, they can't even get that. Well, that has changed. And it comes from years and years of, and I'll kind of introduce you guys as we go through this. The reason why there was actually this is precedent breaking. There was a precedent made a couple decades ago involving the death of a child who had been killed by his adopted parents.
Right.
And at the time, okay, he's known lovingly by all of us. I was a high school student at the time, Peter Boy.
Hmm.
And he had been with this family, and there had been just like exactly the same as we're seeing here. Again, hey, Cooter, hey, hey. They kept looking at abuse scenarios with him. Oh, a broken arm. Oh, this happened. Oh, this bruise here. Let's look at this. And then all of a sudden, when the child goes missing, almost exact same situation as Ariel. Almost exact to a T. They reported Peter Boy missing. Yeah, hey girlfriend. Um, and he was missing for how long? It took a lot longer for them to find out that the parents had done it in this case. But in the meantime, when they tried to get, okay, the Department of Human Services to release the paperwork, okay, on Peter Boy, there was a ruling that came down from the family courts and all saying, oh no, we cannot release any of this type of documentation as to how we went about the adoption or what we did when we went out and looked at this child for bruises or whatever, because of confidentiality and the Child Protective Act.
Right.
And since then, we've dealt with that. We can't get anything. Gianna, you can't get information on. We can't get information on that. About a week and a half ago, that changed. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. I wanted to introduce you guys to that process and what happened with it. I was able to track down the paperwork on it. I think we are still waiting on the actual,
Documents. Hmm.
yes, they're looking at redactions and stuff like that, but hopefully we'll be able to get our hands on it soon. So, anything
And
you
I
want to
think
share?
no, and I was just thinking about like all of these cases. So whenever we cover them in the beginning, there's always that initial like drive for change and the initial crowd of everybody getting involved and everybody wanting to see justice for these children and things like that. And then as these cases go on, we almost see the judicial system and these departments that fail these kids, they almost kind of get away with it over and over and over again because that pressure eventually goes away and people start to slowly forget and they slowly stop paying attention and then nobody's pushing anymore and things like that. And I think that Ariel is one of the first cases that we have seen where her family has continued the push and they have continued to advocate for these records, and they have continued over the course of this last 4 years to just nonstop fight against this system. And so I'm just so glad that they've won this battle now. Like, her records are going to be released. It will all be revealed. It will show that, they never contacted Grandma Julie to come get these kids, for example, even though she would have taken them in. There's so many failures that take place in these cases over and over again, that hopefully we can find something to learn from this, so that
Right.
these same failures don't continue to happen, right? Because I say it all the time, we don't want another Ariel. We don't
Oh,
want another case like this, but we keep ending up in this nonstop cycle where these children, time and time and time again, we're seeing it over and over again. You look at, like, Harmony's case, or Oakley Carlson,
yeah.
or the West Boys. Like, there's just so many that we can name these children off, because we watch them every single day be failed. And so I hope for Oahu that this makes a difference, and that in you guys' area, these changes that are being made, these records that are coming out, this justice that's going to happen for Ariel Sellers, that it can genuinely make a difference for the children on your island, and in
Right.
your area.
And I think we're finally getting, because if you look at the initial case, it kind of led towards the problems that with releasing records and all. It did start with Peter Boy. Like I said, I'm 54 years old right now. Okay, Peter Boy's case happened when I was in college. Okay, that was years ago. And for all these years, we have, by the way, yeah, that girl, these children slip through, and it's every single state. It seems to happen over and over. I've been looking at Gianna's case here in Hawaii, another case just like this. Okay, that things get away and get away. And we're looking again. That case hasn't gone to trial either. But with that case, so the precedent for keeping, the thought process was this: we cannot release the records because the records could potentially hurt the confidentiality of children, whether it be siblings or the child themselves or family members or things like that. So they started doing this and leaning on the CPA, or the Child Protective Act. Yet this time, what basically kind of happened that kicked this off, and Sleuth, you may remember bits and pieces of this. Um, Here in Hawaii, when a child who's part of Department of Human Services and all is put up for adoption or things like that, and is hurt, okay, hurt, killed, or whatever while under the system, they send a report out to the local media, telling the media what happened and things like that, because they have to research this stuff. Well, when Ariel, and I am calling her Ariel, not Isabella. Okay, those of you who know Ariel know she was born Ariel Sellers. The Kaluas changed not only her last name, but her first name. Okay, and this was not an infant. This was a child who knew her name at that time. And the name did not have bad connotations to her or anything like that. So, but after she went missing, okay, the Civil Beat, one of our local newspapers, went after and asked, we want the information on the investigation. And they're like, oh, well, she hasn't been declared dead, so we're not going to give it to you. We can't give it to you according to the law. So they kind of let it go. They let it go for a little while, and then all of a sudden, Ariel was declared deceased. So they went back. Civil Beat went back and said, okay, now we want the information on what happened here. And they were told, well, actually, yes, she's been declared deceased, but we don't know if it's by abuse or anything like that. They didn't say it's due to abuse. She's just deceased.
Meanwhile,
And
they're on trial for her murder. I mean,
it's, it's like, come on, put one and one together. But it was a reason. And again, go back to the Kemah decisions and all that. They're able to lean on this. Okay. So at that point, we have a local group out here who will file for lawsuits and all for people for various reasons. So they went with the media and all to say, okay, we want to have this paperwork released. That went to our local family court system. And the family court system came in and said, sorry, nope, we can't release these things. This is what was going on back when we did that video where I was outside during that time. And they're like, sorry, we can't release this. And yeah, DHS is right for not releasing this because according to this whole thing based off of Peter Boy, we cannot release all this information because, well, in theory, you'd have to redact so much of the documents that the documents would make no sense anymore. So they're like, just, we won't do it. Well, they decided to take that to the Supreme Court here. And that's when things changed. New precedent placed here in Hawaii on all of this. And basically saying, you know what? Yeah, you may have a lot of redactions, but as long as something can be gathered from that document, okay, it is still information that needs to be shared. So now we're in the process where there is a list of what has to be redacted. It is right now in the hands of a couple lawyers, family, the Kaluas, okay, all of that, trying to find out, is there any additional stuff that they want to have redacted? If there is more, they'll go back and forth on that. Hopefully, sooner or later, we'll get public versions of this.
I mean, so to me, I can't really picture like what really. So wait, you have to redact the kids' names, I would assume, and any children's names that are like in the different scenarios. Um, but other than that, why should there be that much information? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make sense to me. I just hope so. What I hope doesn't happen, and I'm not trying to bring politics into
Mhm.
this, but remember whenever they released the Epstein binders and then they opened the pages and it was literally like black lines over and over again, and then like there would be one word and then black lines. Like I hope they don't try to pull something like that. I'd be furious if they redact that much information, but hopefully
No.
there's enough that we can see. And I'm sure if they do something sly like that, that the people who are fighting for this to begin with are going to fight against that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
This family, I have never seen a family more focused on, like, no, this is not going. This is actually kind of go over it with you guys. Hopefully, all my highlights are still showing with this. Let me get this so I don't keep. This was the actual document that came out. And yeah, no, I think you've got a point. Do they get so much redacted that it actually is a self fulfilling prophecy that you can't solve anything from it? Now, the thought process behind this, okay, I kind of went through the full 26 pages to get a better idea of what the thought process was behind it. And it was the whole thing initially that when it comes down to releasing information, the thing with the CPA or the Child Protective Act is that records can be made available to non-parties when that access is in the best interest of the child or serves other legitimate purposes. That's where part of the thing comes into play here. Because part of the reason why myself, Sleuth, you, a lot of others are interested in this is being in long-term care myself. I believe in you look at failures as a chance to get better, okay, to improve. And that's what this should be. How do we improve on the systems that are here? And if we don't know what failed, we can never improve on it. And so going through that, and sorry, I'm trying to, you have to just, yeah, you have to know what is involved. Um, I'm going to skip through a lot of this. I kind of talked to with you guys, but there's one section I'm going to look for that talks about the actual redaction sleuth. And since you brought that up, I think it's near the end of it, and we can go through more of this if you guys want to. Let's see. Sorry. I know it's somewhere near the end. This is where they overruled it. Okay, because again, it was overruling Kemma. Okay, and where the thing was, Kemma was looking that whole precedent, okay, with Peter Kemma's case, was that legitimate purposes, they were looking at that specific case, the case of Peter Boy. But
Right.
part of what they're looking at here is no, it's not just Ariel's case here. It's improving a system. So we don't have another Ariel. So yeah. Let's see. And that's in fact where they mention it here. A legitimate purpose for disclosure, according to the regulations, may exist for reasons unrelated to furthering the best interest of the child. It doesn't have to be just the best interest of the child. Okay, when a foster child is missing or suffered a near fatality, been critically injured, or has died, there's a legitimate purpose in permitting public access to those records. So this is going to open it up where, at least in Hawaii, maybe we're going to have systems in place where they figure out the redaction part, but maybe we can start seeing what is happening and making some changes. Yes, Seal, it's about time. Okay, and it took Ariel and the Sellers family to push for this, and they did it. I was trying to let's see. And if anyone wants to, here, actually, I'll share with you guys. If anyone wants the actual link to this, sorry if you can hear my dog growling. She's throwing a tantrum.
So I wasn't sure. I was sitting here smirking. I wasn't sure if it was your dog growling or if your microphone was like just ever so slightly vibrating because it's not a clear growl. But then I seen you reach over to the slide for your Cheetos or treats. Yeah. Just always say
Yes.
Cheetos.
They work that way.
It's blocking it out mostly though. It's just ever so
Thank
slightly this like
God.
burr.
That's Miss Cassie. I thought maybe she'd sleep up here, but that didn't work. So this is the area. Okay, so Sleuth and everyone, this is what they are saying redactions should include. So any reference to a sibling. Yeah, that girl, they know it's treat time, and they know it. So we know Ariel has siblings. She has siblings that remember this time. She has at least one sibling who is going to be speaking up for what happened, is able to share what happened. Okay, in my eyes, the fact that these siblings have had to go 4 years to wait to be able to move on with their life is inexcusable.
It's ridiculous. And I swear, like, that's one of my biggest problems with this entire justice system because they always worry about what the criminal's right is and making sure that the criminal has due process and things like that. And the victims in every single one of these cases are forgotten every single time. And Ariel is deceased. And so she's not suffering through this time period, but her family is. Big Sis, who has to testify to this, is going to remember this. And I've watched these trials, and a lot of times these defense attorneys are scumbags, and they'll question these people who have to remember these details exactly over this time period, and they'll try to throw a wrench into what they're saying and like try to get them off track and question what they're saying. And it's like, dude, it's been 4 years.
Yeah,
It's been 4 years that this little girl has had to keep this in her brain and remember the horrific things that they did to her sister and likely
yeah,
to her. I mean,
yeah,
honestly, to think that they only abused one child is
yeah.
that's besides the
Well,
point. But
that's part of what's
it's
here.
not fair to these victims in every single one of these cases. And it infuriates me. I wish that there was a way to change it. I wish there was a way to, I don't know, make the process faster, right? If this was 1 year, I'd be like, okay, but 4 years, like, come on, this is ridiculous.
Like I said at the beginning, how many people who are watching this right now know someone who had a baby 4 years ago? That child is going into school now, pre-K. Okay, that's how long this is. These siblings are sitting there trying to remember. And we already know this is already hard enough of an issue because unfortunately they have not found Ariel's remains.
Right.
That makes it harder. Okay, they have a good case here, but the defense is going to try anything they can to throw a fork into this whole thing and cause everything to blow up.
Mhm. And
And that's good. Yeah.
sorry, so much is
No.
gonna rely on her testimony too because
Mhm.
that's pretty much how they caught them. I mean, she came forward. She said that she carried her to the bed. She said that she was deceased at the time. That's really what got this ball rolling. And to say that she has to remember everything, it's not to say that she could forget, because I guarantee you that these are probably images and thoughts that play through her mind a lot. And I know that she is surrounded by people who are dealing with and helping her get through everything. But I can only imagine what it's like whenever she closes her eyes at night. You know what I
Oh, yeah.
mean? Just all of the
No.
thoughts. And I just, yeah, yeah, she's scarred for life. That's
Scarred for
exactly
life.
it, Cootergy. And
Yep.
so it's just not fair to keep her in this state of being a victim to this situation as long as she is awaiting this trial, as long as she is waiting for this case to be done. And then the appeal process, we won't even get started on that. I just it just frustrates me. It just
Yeah.
really does. Sorry. This is
No,
yeah.
it's hard to move on, and I believe any young person who is strong enough to stand up like she did is going to be strong enough to deal with everything emotionally. But it doesn't make it easier that she's having to put everything on hold in her mind. She can't really focus on healing from it all because she's still holding on to everything and she knows she's going to have to relive it and stuff like and that's not fair.
Exactly. And for anybody who has had somebody that was a victim to a crime like this, or who have been through situations like this, the grieving process doesn't truly start until justice is given. And I know this from watching the way that my aunt dealt with my cousin's murder. She never fully got to start grieving until she transitioned from get justice
Yeah,
to being able to grieve. And then it's almost like a completely different state of mind. So many people, so many families go into warrior mode and go into that advocacy and that justice side of things. I'm sure, like, even
right,
Grandma Julie and the aunties and things like that, they're probably not even fully processing everything because they're still in, we have to get justice. We have to
right.
make sure that she has that these changes are in place and that everybody gets through this trial. And then once everything is done, once Lehua and Sunny are locked up for good, then they'll be able to sit back
Mm,
and really fully just unwind everything.
yeah. I think it's kind of, by the way, Steph, I'm happy you got home safely. And I think it's kind okay. And tell me, okay, with knowing someone who's been through something of the similarity, it's not going to be exactly like this, but any of us who have ever lost a very close loved one, my dad, parents, something like that, we kind of talk to each other and say, you know what, during the up through the funeral, you're running on adrenaline. You just got to get through it. You're like, boom, 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 boom. You're not given a chance to truly start grieving and processing what's going on. Okay, now, luckily, a funeral in this case happens within what? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, four if you're military. Okay, but these people, it's not even 4 weeks, it's 4 years before they can finally get to that same place. And so it's just, yeah, no. Other things, so yeah, references to any of the siblings. So their birth dates, initials, things like that will be redacted. References to Ariel that require redaction to prevent any harm to the safety or well being of a sibling. So, such as information where a clear inference exists that a sibling may have been subject to similar. That gets to what you were talking about, Nicole. That, okay, it's very hard to believe that Ariel was the only child who was being abused in a household. Even if she was the only one with actual abuse, we know a child who is watching abuse is being abused also, just by having to watch it and see it happening day in, day out. So protecting of the family there. Vital records such as birth certificate, marriage certificate, dates of birth, and that's right now all that they are putting down as redacted. Now, what I found interesting is they said there are other ways. Up to now in the state of Hawaii, it's been like, well, if it isn't redacted, okay, you redact or you don't redact or anything, and you just don't share anything. Well, what the Supreme Court has said here is there's other ways you can protect what's going on. You can literally, okay, do legal steps to ensure you can, okay, have petitions put into place to protect things rather than just redacting. And that's what they're saying. You guys need to look at procedural steps rather than just redaction. And that is where I think it's going to be interesting to see what Hawaii does, because they're going to have to create full force procedures on this. Because once they go through all this is just the first step. Okay. I guarantee you, every other family who has had a child hurt under the system here is probably going to request records very quickly.
For sure.
And so yeah, this is actually a very good, okay, I mean, really well done brief. 26 pages. It's not short, but they did a great job really describing their thought process when they made this decision. And I'm just happy finally they can't keep, because they always say, oh, Kemma says we can't do this. Kemma says we can't do this.
Hmm.
How many times did I say that to you, Sleuth? Oh, yeah,
Right.
we're not going to get this because of Kemma. And here we are. We're finally getting it. So, so let me do it. One of these days, I need to talk to you guys about Kemma's case, because that was another one of these just much fun. I love watching it. I'm reading you guys about Seal. Yeah, we've got a stranger in that chat. Okay, there.
I think
It's a
I think that
clone.
we did go over Peter Boy.
Kemma? We did.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we did back whenever I know I went over it on my channel whenever she was first
Okay,
missing. And then I know me and you went over it together at one point as well.
that's good.
But it,
Okay.
it I mean it's been a while, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think we
yeah,
have definitely.
that's good. Yeah, because he's one of the cases who really set off a lot. We
Mhm.
have, like any state, every couple years you have this happen over and over. And now, one of the things I can tell you that is going well, I'm trying to pull up the article from Civil Beat right now. One of the things that I have been informed is that we are currently in pretrial. I can officially say, according to Grandma, they are in pretrial now. So all this time, and in fact, I'm trying to figure out exactly when opening statements are right now,
Mhm.
so that I could get a little bit more information on that. Because according to online, when you go to the court system, it shows trials starting on February 2nd. But Grandma is saying they actually were able to get that pushed up, but it's not reflective online. So I'm not too sure on that one right now.
It's been rescheduled so many times, it's almost hard to believe. But pre-trial, though, that probably could include like the very last, like, is this evidence coming in? Is that evidence not coming in? Any people that they might have to do like video interviews with
Yes,
and stuff. So I mean, it could still start in February, but just have these
very possible.
dates leading up to get
Right.
everything sorted, if that
And
makes
that I
sense.
could see, especially with the amount of time things
Mhm.
take in Hawaii.
Right.
I know Gianna's case at one time was February 2nd also, and I was like, "Oh my, I can't believe both of them are starting the same day." Well, that one's been pushed out now to April 20th. So, we're having the same repeat happening with that one.
Mhm.
And so, but this was actually what came out of the case. Okay, and we've kind of gone through everything, but to give you an idea, the whole thing with Kemma was 1999. That's how long this has been in place and what a game changer it really is here. Um, I do need to find out. I haven't checked to see if everything's been released. Probably not because I think they've been given 30 days according to everything. And I haven't seen any of the local news channels pick things up. You know, is it okay? Let me ask this, Seal. I've been wondering this. Is Hawaii just seem to take much longer to get to trial date than other states?
No.
Or no?
Dylan Redwine took 9 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's frustrating.
there are some states that are extremely quick, but
Yeah.
then there are other states that I mean, I would say 2 to 3 years is the average,
Okay.
as
That
far as,
makes
like,
sense.
murder trials, but if you think about even, like, Evelyn Boswell, that was 5
5?
years? 5 or 6 years?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
So it is more
unfortunately,
average. That's right.
the harsher the charges and the longer the sentence, the longer it takes to get to trial, it seems like.
Right. And that makes sense. That does make sense. I know I was gonna show it to you guys because we actually had video of Lehua trying to get bail dropped again about a
I
month
watched that
ago.
the other day, I was like,
You watched it?
"Seriously?" Mhm.
It was just I don't know if the version you got was as soft as mine, but I it was so low volume wise. I was like, we're never going to be able to hear it in this group.
Right.
And so, but it was, yeah, it was just that they think, and I just, every time they'd come out with this idea of bail and all for either of them, all I could think of was family and big sis, knowing that someone like them could be out and about. They walk into
Right.
Ala Moana and happen to walk into them or something like that.
Mhm.
Okay, whether you have a protective order or not, how do you make sure you never walk? This is an island. You do run into people at times. So I was so happy that got kicked out so quickly. So it does take years for most, yeah, because this is really frustrating, especially, okay, I get people deserve, okay, speedy trial. I agree. Having yourself heard, I agree. Finding everything out, but I think there needs to be a time where we say you're playing the system.
Yeah. I don't know, I forgot that I was on camera. I totally rolled my eyes whenever you're like,
I
"People
heard that.
deserve." I'm like, "Oh, no."
I
But
heard that.
it's just I
Yeah.
just can't. I I have no sympathy for people like this
Mm.
at all. And
No, I agree.
I know that that's where, like, the Christian side of me needs to be more forgiving and things like that, but I don't even think they deserve blankets. I don't think that they deserve meals. I think that they should be, locked in a dog crate with duct tape on their mouths for the rest
Right?
of their lives, that however long
Before
that
we
may
go.
be. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I can't feel pity on them at all. And I don't think that I mean, but then here's the thing. There are people who sometimes get arrested for things that they didn't do, but I think that happens a lot less often. I really do think that happens way less often than it's portrayed. And at this point, like, I feel like if there's this much evidence against somebody, like, why do we even have to go through this process? Eh,
No,
why
you
is this
got
even
it.
a thing? Why can't we just okay, well, there was, camera evidence of her leaving your house, and then she went into your house, and then she was never seen again, and you were responsible for her, so unfortunately, you're gonna have to be in jail forever
Yeah.
because we shouldn't even have to do this trial right now.
Well, and that's my thing, by the way. Hey, KK, love you, my dear. And that's one of my, okay, you know me, I'm a little bit more, I'm very, very strong against, okay, personally, I think these two need to be locked up. I mean, thank God I probably will not be called in for the jury for this because I'd probably get kicked out within 5 seconds. And, but at the same breath, I can tell you right now, I try to walk a line between, okay, everyone deserves a chance to ensure that they are not guilty, prove that they're guilty or they're innocent. Okay, make sure you have all the evidence there. Make sure you've done all these things. Now, the problem is, and this is where I was saying what I was about, we can cross this line where people are abusing. The system is there to make sure that people are being heard, okay, that nothing slips through the cracks, things like that. So that is fine. It's there. But the problem is we are using and abusing the system now. Okay, there is no reason on earth, like you said, when you've got video camera. Okay, the last day she was seen was August 18th. You don't have anything before that. Okay, you've got someone in the family who can say they saw this, this, and this. Okay, you have so and so who all of a sudden had COVID. Okay, at the same, all these things. Okay, you know what? You're at a certain point, there's no new evidence being discovered. Why is it taking so long?
Right. And so I think that it's like as soon as you enter into the realm of DNA evidence, video evidence, different things like that, I think if you have three pieces of those evidence, like, okay, well, that's your third strike. Sorry, you're just in jail. Like, why are we even going through this process? Kind of like that guy who, this is completely off topic, but he went and reported his mom missing, or his girlfriend, his mom, I think, missing. And as he's reporting her missing and showing the police a picture of what his mom looks like on his phone, the officer swiped left one too many times and he was holding up her head in a photo. And so, like, that guy, why do we even have to do court? Why is there even that process? Like, why? Okay, he's obviously holding her head, but we're still going to
Yeah,
have a court process for
court
that. Like,
process.
that's ridiculous to me. And so, yeah, I
There's a
don't know.
time where it's wasting taxpayer money. Okay. It's wasting the victim's ability to start healing. And to me, the victim have as many rights as the criminal, if not more in my eyes. Okay. They should have more, in all honesty. Yes, 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 KK. Someone is trying everything in her power to take over attention. And um I think there's so many of these rules that we need to just step in and say we're kind of in this time. Yeah, there's no such thing as a speedy trial anymore. There's no such thing. They sit there and they try to play. And I think honestly, until someone starts stepping in and saying, okay, we're going to hold you guys responsible for wasting the court's time. Okay, because that's what's happening. They are wasting it and they know they're wasting it. And in this case,
But if they're
these
going to
three,
jail forever, what do they
it
have to
doesn't
lose?
matter.
I mean,
And
like,
that's it.
so just another completely off topic thing, but Adam Montgomery continuously doing appeal processes and stuff like that. Like, dude, you're guilty. That you're not getting out. So, like, wasting the court's time, right? What do? You just take away his ramen? Like, he's not allowed commissary for a couple months. Like, there's no way to punish him once they're already
Exactly.
in jail. I don't
They
know.
know it. No, and they
Mhm.
know it.
Yeah.
And that is true. What then becomes an equivalent at that point? Because I'll be honest, a lot of what we have as jails, I'll be honest, if you look at the compare, they're a little cushy. Okay. If you compare it to, say, many of the other countries you could be going to, I'm sorry, they are. And it comes down to KK saying now it takes several years for people to go to trial. That just drags the pain on and on and on for the family. Okay, and that's the thing, especially, well, okay, and this actually gets into another whole area. If I was thinking about this recently, hey, Gia, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, when we were talking about mass shootings, things like that, mass pew pews. Um, when a person self deletes themselves, all of a sudden there is no trial or anything. Yet we also do know that trials often help victims heal. Okay, so there's this line between trials being used to postpone someone's healing by it taking forever and abusing the system and stuff like that, like in the case we're dealing with right now. But then on the other side, you have people who have had the other person is no longer the criminal is no longer around. So it's like, well, we're not going to have any type of trial. So the person is kind of stuck there with no sense of justice. Okay. And that's one thing I look at. I think it's Korea actually, whether or not the person is alive or not, it still does go to trial. Now, the rest of their system is messed up. But that's one thing I've always thought was
That's
okay.
interesting. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think though from the trial process, a lot of things from my perspective, I can't speak for
Mhm.
every person who has been through situations like this, but from my perspective, a lot of it is because we want to see everything and we want to try to understand the why and the what happened and what was the purpose behind why you did this atrocious, horrible thing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, from covering true crime now and watching so many trials and following these cases, I think the problem is, as a victim, there's never actually going to be a why that's going to make sense coming from the
Yes.
trial. There will never be an answer that is suddenly revealed that will justify why Lehua and Sunny allegedly, as I roll my
Yeah.
eyes for that too,
You
but
know,
that
exactly.
they allegedly did this to Ariel. Like, we're not going to find something out at trial through this case where we're like, oh, that makes sense. That's
There's
why
some.
they did this horrible thing. And I think that that's something that most people who have had horrible things happen, you know, we hope that someday we're going to find out, well, why did that occur? Um, and even with these records that we're getting ready to see, we're looking for the gap and the why behind how did she end up in this situation? Why was the abuse reported? Records of it being reported, but then immediately closed within 24 hours. Um,
Exactly.
after having eyewitnesses seeing Lehua punch her in the
Reporting.
face.
Yep.
And that's documented.
Yeah.
We've seen that already.
There's
So where's
doctors.
the gap that says the why?
Yeah.
And I hope that we get that information from these articles, at least on that side. We'll never understand the why behind why Lehua and Sunny did it, but hopefully we can understand the why for the failures.
Well, it's sad because in reality, there is no why that would ever make sense. Because in reality, in this case, it was abuse that went too far. Okay, do we really think, okay, and this is, you can fight this on either side, that Lehua went into it expecting to do that? My thought is probably not. But you know what? If you abuse someone, those things can happen. Okay. If you're going to drive your car 120 miles an hour through a school zone, you may end up hurting someone. And you need to understand that going into it. So there is no way of truly, no why is ever going to make sense to us. Okay. Now, my issue always comes down to the fact, what are we doing? Okay, especially in the case of children, to prevent something like this from happening again. Because there is no reason. Okay, you talked about people who saw things happen. Okay, we have doctors, okay, at one of our local hospitals who were calling reports in. Why were these things not being followed up? Okay, I deal with long-term care. And if I hear of anything potentially even not being right with one of our kapuna, I'm going to report that, because our elderly and our children need someone to protect them. And that program, and I'm not saying, oh, bad, 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 okay, system, whatever we want to call it, because it doesn't have to be a bad system if they look at it from the point of view, okay, this happened. Where did it fall apart? Okay. In the same way, I just had a Department of Health survey at our facility. Okay. And no matter what, in fact, we say, if you have a survey, you don't want a perfect survey, because there's no such thing as a perfect building. There's no such thing. There are problems all the time. There's always something that's going to fail. Okay. So when things come out, okay, maybe someone forgets to wash their hands when they take a pair of gloves off or something like that. What you do is you come back and you sit down, you're like, okay, did we check and make sure? And these are the questions we answer as part of this process. How did we check to make sure no one else was being affected by that same exact thing? Are we sure that every other staff member is washing their hands? There's no other children being affected in the way Ariel is. Okay. Then we go through, okay, how do we go through and re-educate people? How do we set up a system that we are auditing for this in the future to make sure it doesn't happen again? Those are the systems that I don't honestly think we are looking at right now. We're looking at everything as bad, 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 rather than let's make it better. And that's all I want to do is make it better for the kids, for our keiki. And Red Rock is saying, as much as we would like it to be so, trials are not about the victim. It's about proving guilt and mitigating circumstances for the kid. And that's something I always have to recognize. It's more about, okay, proving guilt or innocence and not as much about helping victims, because I do see things more from the victim's point of view, which is usually not the best. You got to be able, if you're being fair, I wouldn't make a good lawyer, put it that way.
I always get like shoes thrown at me while we're watching court, and I'm like, well,
Oh,
in my opinion, the defense didn't or the prosecution didn't prove this case or whatever, to beyond a reasonable doubt. Because there are some cases that I walk in and I'm like, I mean, but do they even have enough evidence? Do they really? And I do want to see a prosecution come out with a
yeah,
strong case and completely prove what they have, because I want to know that the person who is going to jail is, guilty.
yeah.
But like I said, with some of these cases, it's like, come on, there is just so
I
much
know.
evidence that, like, why is this taking 5 years? Why
Right.
is this taking 4 years? Why is this? It's just ridiculous. And I don't know. But there
Well,
are some cases where there's not as much evidence, and it's like, okay, well, what happened here? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Um,
And
I,
that's the thing. Yeah. How do you ensure those people get the right type of defense when they should be getting a good defense? Then you get others like this. Yeah, there's more than enough out there, especially in this case. Okay, the only thing that honestly I see missing from this case right now is her remains. That's literally everything else I think is there. Well, yes, you could do, well, there's video type things too. KK, I d- we've not been, Sleuth, do you know of anything drug related in this one? I know there's talks of things, but I don't think there's any drug charges or anything like that.
I mean, Lehua had drug charges in her previous history before
Yeah.
the adoption took place. And it's ironic because she had the charges, similar charges to what Ariel's bio mom had, that led to her losing custody to begin with. And then we put her in foster care or adoption, with somebody who has the same type of stuff going on. But I don't know if they were actively using. I do know that family members associated with them were constantly posting photos and stuff, paraphernalia, all those different types of things on Instagram. um, and so there was drugs certainly around the family. I'm not sure if Lehua and Sunny were actively using.
And I'll be honest, okay, on the island, drugs are pretty easy to get around the island. Okay, there's definitely, so it's possible, and like you said, and see, that gets back to the whole idea of getting these records released. Because again, this is where part of the problem came with the records. There's two sets of records here. We have the records from adoption on, okay, what happened with the reporting and stuff like that. But we also have the records regarding the adoption itself. And how did they make the decision to put her in that household? And that was one of the things they had to decide at the Supreme Court,
Right.
are both sets. And I can tell you right now, it's something like 975 pages long. So that tells you right there, both sets of records have been released or will be released.
Right.
And their thought is, you know what happened that led up to adoption, especially in this case, may truly have a lot to do with what happened to her in the end.
I
There's a
agree.
very strong tie.
Big time. And especially this. So KK says, how were they still allowed to adopt her? Not only did Lehua have these charges in her past, She also had an absorbent amount of credit card debt, and different types of,
Mhm.
uh, what's that called? Bankruptcy almost.
Bankruptcies, yeah.
And then Sonny had felony assaults, multiple felony
Mhm.
assault charges in his background. And they let them adopt not
Yep.
one, not two, well, two
Well, yeah.
technically, and then we're in the process of adopting a third child, all related to Ariel.
Yeah.
And so, why? How did that happen?
And
It's
that's yeah.
unbelievable.
That's why it's so important that they released both sets of records,
Hmm.
because you cannot figure out what went wrong unless you're looking at that part also.
Right.
Because we already know a lot of reports of the abuse were pretty much swept under the rug. Okay, I feel safe enough saying that. I don't like saying that, but I feel safe enough saying it. Okay, so what else is going on with that? Okay, were there, I hate going here, especially from living on this island, but were there connections between, and we know part of the answer of this, between people who were working within the department and the family?
Mhm.
Okay, I think those are all very valid concerns.
I'm
Okay,
curious if my Facebook page is gonna make it into the, records, because we had multiple people who worked in the department in the Facebook group, like, going back and forth with us about this stuff. It was disturbing, mind-blowing that the heads of the departments were acting the way they were, while she was missing,
yep. And I think that's part of my biggest concern from a professional point of view.
right?
Okay, that anyone coming in, it's more a, again, and I get it. If someone comes to me and says, "Oh, you had this happen at your facility," or something like that, yeah, there's a part of me that's going to be a little, okay, taken aback and defensive. That's normal. We're human. But in the end, I also know, okay, wait, you know what? I can't get better unless I look at these things. Okay. And I have to take responsibility for what happens within my department, within my company, within my shift, whatever it is you're working. And that was one thing, one of the worst side effects of records not being released for more than what, 2 decades? Well, 99 to 2009, well, decade and a half, is that people kept being able to hide from things rather than standing up and see it happening right in front of you, and being able to stand up and say, okay, yeah, this happened in my department and was not right, and we need to find a way to fix it now. And that's just, yeah, no, are there good, okay, are there good enough fosters? I think there's problems finding good fosters everywhere. It's something I think we need to look at in general. How do we get better foster care applicants there? We all know way too many foster parents, adopted parents are doing it for money. Not all, not all, but we've seen how many of those cases. And we have our fair share of those here. And um but yeah, sorry, I just saw something. Oh, thank you. Yes, I do need to do that, don't I? And Miss Sleuth Mom just told me I need to do some gifting of some things by the end of the life. And KK, how? I'm sorry that, yeah, and that's been my issue. Knowing what I know about the Kaluas, they should never have been allowed to adopt. They shouldn't have been able to foster. I'm sorry. Just because someone is a chaplain or parishioner or whatever he was called, no. Okay, when you have certain things in your background, and I'm the first one who's like, give people a second chance. I believe in second chances. I strongly believe, because if a person wants to make a change in their life, I believe they can. I believe God will help them make those changes in their life if they're open to it. But just because someone says they want to change doesn't mean they will. And many times it's an excuse. And when you're talking with a child, it's not worth that. A child's life takes precedent over anything.
So
Sorry.
the thought of you can change is great, but if you have somebody that you're going to give that chance, I think the first time that there is abuse suspected or reported, that you would take that into consideration that this person has histories of felony assault and maybe like, okay, well, we're not going to risk this. Let's just go ahead and pull these kids out and maybe we'll try again in like 20 years. You know what
Yep,
I mean? Like, take that into consideration before you just leave innocent children with,
exactly.
ex felons.
Yep.
I don't know.
And I look at this whole situation here with that family. We know there were family members willing to take these children in. And instead, we're giving them to a family who has what I would count as behavioral or potentially criminal behavior issues. Okay, same background with drugs, things like that. Why are we are the state that says we are focused on Ohana. Why aren't we going to our Ohanas and asking them, are you willing to bring them in? We can give you help. We can find ways to help give you, if there's one thing, okay, maybe the problem is childcare after school that's holding you back. You know what? We can meet you. We can get with the A plus program and we can set this up or that up. We can do, we know that's probably the best place for it. Would have been, at least in this case, much better place for them. So did they have good question, Seal. Sleuth, I've never heard of any. Have you?
No.
No, I haven't either. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard of anything. Yeah, they need to be having background checks. They need to, I don't know what the rules are for foster and then adoption, but you would have thought they would never have passed
I don't
that rule.
I don't
No.
even wanna get on this topic. BC
I
did it, and
know.
she wants to see me get
BC,
fired up.
always BCs. It's always BCs.
I don't wanna
But you
talk
know,
about the law that could have got passed, but it's okay. Yeah.
oh, yeah,
We
no,
won't
no, no.
we're
You'll
not
get
going
me
there.
on that one. And but you know what? I am going to go this far to say, with the records being opened up now, I know it's going to be hard to get that law that could have been passed because of various reasons. But you know what? Maybe it will open up enough outrage to start making some other changes, because something has to be done. I mean, every 2 to 3 years, we have a new name to add to the list, and that's just Hawaii. Forget the rest of the country. So it sounds like they had multiple chances. Yeah. How many chances? Oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember all the chances that were reported, okay, about Ariel alone. I agree. It needs to be a thing, BC. But yeah, no, we know, for example, Dr. I think it was Shriners. Okay, when she had the thing with her leg, that got reported. School teacher reported stuff. Okay, all these things kept up there. Yes, Blue, right there. That alone. Now I get it. Follow up care requires hiring staff, but
It
come
really
on.
doesn't though, because if you were to do it in a way where these kids were just seeing their medical doctor or even a counselor, I think a lot of these kids who have gone through the system could really, really benefit from counseling.
Oh God,
Uh,
yeah,
uh, like just even if you're just getting sent to a normal foster or normal adoptive family, and you're not getting abused or anything like that, I still think that there needs to be that counseling until you, I don't know, 5 years, I think is what they were trying to push
mhm,
for in Hawaii.
yeah,
5 years, like that's something that could really benefit these children's that have lost their families. They've gone through oftentimes horrific events that have led to them losing their families. And you know, I don't know. It could be so easy to do some type of follow-up care with
oh
a
yeah,
mandated reporter on a regular basis to make sure that these kids are not, I don't know,
yeah.
and it doesn't even have to involve DCYF. It doesn't even have
No,
to
it doesn't.
add any of that, any pressure or anything on a system that is already stressed, because a lot of times these workers are way underpaid and way overwhelmed because there's just so many kids in these systems. Unfortunately, it's just the reality. And I will just say that this this entire world will continue on this path as long as we continue to not put the value on the moral standards that need to be there, as long as we don't put the value on making sure that, we are coming together as a community and loving our neighbors and being happy, healthy families and things like that,
Right.
it's just the whole mindset just needs to change.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Well,
yeah, BC, there should have been check-ins
there should have been
for
check-ins.
the 3rd child, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, there should have been. Well, and I think the other thing is, and I know this is another sticking point and all, okay. I think when you have, how many times do we hear about a child who goes missing or unalived? Okay, because okay, right before that happened, within like a month before, 2 months before, they're switched over to homeschool. Now, again, I believe in homeschool. I think it's the greatest, some of the greatest families I've ever seen homeschool. But we also have seen a repeated issue. And again, if you see the same thing happening over and over and over and over, it should be alerting you to a problem.
Right.
Okay. And when we keep hearing that, oh, yeah, so and so was pulled out of school 3 months before they disappeared.
Or well, and with this particular situation, the teacher had been raising concerns and reporting the concerns. She
Okay.
came into our Facebook group pretty much right away and told us, that she had reported the situations to her boss and to DCYF and things like that. And it wasn't too long after that that they pulled her out of school because of the abuse reports and things.
You follow one plus one equals two. And that's all it is. And I get at the same point, okay, people don't want people coming into their, I get those things,
But
but
if
we
there's
got to figure it out.
abuse
It's the kid.
reports and then somebody pulls your kid
Yes.
out of school, like, I'm sorry,
Yes.
that should be a huge red flag.
Right.
I advocate for homeschool. I am a homeschool mom. I
Yes.
I do advocate 100% for people having the ability to homeschool. I live in one of the strictest states in the country to homeschool. PA is very, very, you have to do things to a T, and there's certain things that you have to do and follow up with a mandated reporter at the end of the year to check progress and different things like that. But one of the things that I do advocate for with homeschool is I do think that you should be involved in some type of community
Yes.
thing. Like my kids are all
Okay.
enrolled in a homeschool co-op. My son is currently enrolled in the VOTEC school around us. Like there's just different activities that I do think that you should allow your children. We are a part of a church and a great community for that too.
Right.
But I do advocate for homeschooling a lot. So I'm not saying we're not
Yeah.
saying that homeschool is bad in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, but there are certain red flags that, like I said, if there are abuse reports and then you immediately decide after those abuse reports to homeschool your children, that should be a red flag. There,
Well,
there
and
should be
those are
like a
the
little warning
things.
that goes
Yeah,
up.
there's certain things that should be kind of perking up your ears. Another is like Seal's saying here, Gianna here in Hawaii.
Mhm.
Okay, we've got what, Gianna was what, 10 or 11? There were no doctor reports from the time that she was with, okay,
She said that, and
losses.
and it made me think about something. I wonder, like, so I know that DCYF or CPS, wherever you're from, they
Mhm.
can access, like, they can go to your doctor and ask for certain records. But I don't know if once a report is made, and somebody in the chat, maybe somebody knows this, but once a report is made to CYS or DCYF or whatever, do they then send that to the doctor? Could that be something that, like, that the doctor could then be, like, know that there was some type of red flag raised so that during the child's next wellness visit, that they can kind of follow up on those types of do you get what I'm saying? Like, maybe
No, I
that
get
could
what
be
you're
like a
saying. I don't think, now don't quote me. I don't,
or are those
I'm
records
kind of
so
putting this
held
as
tight,
adults.
private, confidential, blah, blah, blah,
That's what I'm
that,
thinking.
like, the doctors aren't alerted? Because that to me seems like a simple because
No,
I
but
think
it
about,
does
like,
make
for
sense.
example, Summer Wells, for example.
Yeah,
Were the doctors ever alerted that there was these different types of inquiries going on so that they would
right.
have known, like at the dentist office or wherever, to kind of look for different types of, not, I'm not talking about the HIPAA would apply if the doctor was communicating to CYS. But I'm
Right.
saying, does CYS notify the doctor? Or I don't
To
know.
me, it makes sense because it allows
I know that
one of the
I know
things you
that
learn.
whenever you're being
Yeah,
investigated, they have you sign paperwork so that your doctor
right.
can communicate with them. That's one of the very first things that they do with any family that they're investigating. They try to get that paperwork from your doctor, and you don't have to comply. But I do know that that door is opened that direction. But I wonder, does it go the opposite way? Like, that could be
I
something so
don't
simple.
think so, but yeah,
Mhm.
especially if you're someone within the system to begin with.
Right.
Okay, I mean, that'd be a great place for starting it because it's not only that one of the things you learn very quick, no matter what age the person is the idea of multidisciplinary, okay,
Mhm.
approach to providing the best care possible. Okay, so even in a case like that, I'm thinking, for example, if we have a report that goes to APS about abuse in an elderly person, they're
Mhm.
not going to contact them. Now, actually, they may. Actually, that just dawned on me. They actually may contact, okay, as part, depending on what the abuse allegation is,
Mhm.
if it was physical connection or something like that, they may actually go up to the physician and say, have you had any concerns about this or stuff like that?
Okay.
But I think that would make sense. I think including doctors in a lot of this is a huge step forward if we'd find a way
Yeah.
to make that
Like,
happen.
why aren't the records so I guess so okay, this is where the whole Fourth Amendment,
Yep,
privacy, blah, blah,
exactly.
blah, all the things, but I guess to me, I'm thinking to myself, like, so I understand why DCYF cannot automatically access your doctor records, right? I understand that.
That's
I don't
important.
even like sending in shot records or anything to the school systems. Like, we opt out of all of that. My kids all are taken care of, blah, blah, blah. But we just opt out of people getting our records unnecessarily, right?
Right.
But I'm saying, like, as a doctor, like, why shouldn't it be where, like, they can see the CYS stuff though, right? Like, maybe DCYF doesn't get to see the doctor's records without the permissions being
Yeah,
correct and
that.
stuff for HIPAA stuff. But maybe the doctors on the other side of things could, like, have, how hospitals, like, all connect together and you can see
Oh,
each
yeah.
other's records. Why couldn't they connect, like, on the back end to be able to see, like,
Well,
oh, well,
it's
there was these types of reports. Do you get what I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know about other
I'm,
locations,
like,
but I know in
getting
certain
sleepy, so now
states.
my brain
No,
is
I
starting
know
to
that
think.
our brain is coming up with some, and there's negatives and positives for
Yeah.
everything we're mentioning right now. But for example, one of the things I know some states have set up is that EHRs or electronic health records that doctors have and all, paramedics have access to. So if
Right.
all of a sudden you call 911, that paramedic has access to your medical history
See, and that's smart,
immediately.
right?
Yeah,
Because not all the times whenever you get on an ambulance are you able to say,
you don't
"Hey,
have your bracelet.
I'm
Yeah,
allergic to penicillin. Don't shoot me with this," or you know what I mean,
bingo,
whatever.
bingo.
Um,
It's an
it just, like,
interesting
harming
idea.
you not going to the doctor for so long. Sometimes they
Oh
true,
gosh.
sometimes kids go missing and they haven't seen the doctor. I
Yeah,
agree with that. But
yeah.
sometimes kids go missing and they do see the
Let's
doctor.
see the doctor.
I
It's
don't know.
trying to figure out what can we do. Our children are our most precious resource. Okay, forget oil, forget coal, forget all these other things in the world.
Mm,
Okay, our children most precious resource. Whatever happens to them today is going to affect them
mm,
tomorrow. And that's why aftercare, things like that to me is so important because a child, okay, even me, okay, I grew up military child, army brat. I changed schools every 2 years. Changing schools every 2 years affected me for the rest of my life. And so I think having this ability to do some sort of We know we have counseling programs in school. Okay, and at least the ones who are in school, why aren't they meeting and discussing the effects of being adopted or how that's affecting them or what happened before they were taken out of one house and put in another? And doctors do not want to. That honestly, Red Rocks, that's
Yeah,
been in the
as soon
back
as
of
I
my
seen her
head.
say that, it's very
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
They
That
would,
was
like,
one of
not
my
want
things.
involved.
AMA, yeah.
Mhm.
AMA would probably not be too happy about that because it gives them more.
Yeah.
And does
Takes you back
CPS or
to this, like,
GCY? Yeah,
whole lawsuit country that we have. I'm gonna
yeah,
do a live about this sometime this week,
yeah.
probably.
That would be good. That would be
Not
good.
about this, but about, what I was getting ready to say. Oakley Carlson has
Hmm.
now been declared deceased. Her extended family, who have custody of the other children right now, pushed to get her declared deceased because they want money, essentially. They plan on filing the lawsuits and against the system and stuff like that. And here's the problem with this. Currently, Oakley Carlson's current next of kin would still be her parents and her siblings. So
Mm,
a portion of the money that they would win in a situation like this would still benefit her siblings, yes, but
yes,
also
but
the individuals that are the reason that she is currently missing. And so the entire situation has me so frustrated right now because,
yeah,
like, I understand that these systems need held accountable and there needs to be a change. Something needs to happen. But I do not think that Harmony Montgomery's mom deserved $2.2 million because she was a drug addict who didn't care about her child and lost custody of her child multiple times, advocated for him to go to, or advocated for Harmony to go to the monster who ended up killing her. And
right.
then her mom gets a payday for it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
it just I don't know. And I know that
I'd
there are
rather see
situations where there is some type of financial compensation that should happen for the losses, for the pain and suffering and things like that. I'm not saying that every single case, that shouldn't happen, but some of these cases, like, have me so frustrated that it's just I don't know. It's
someone who never
a
had
messed
any.
up world.
I'd rather see that money if there is a
Go to
money
change.
thing like that go to exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Mhm.
Put it towards a program that's going to look into this and start because unfortunately we know no one's really looking at making this change. Everyone's so busy on trying to keep up with everything status quo.
Mhm.
Okay, because they got to at least keep the status quo that no one's really looking at bettering the program.
Right.
So hire in some consultants who can look at this or something like that.
Right.
And so it's really, I don't, when did Oakley go missing? Six, seven?
2021. 2021, I think.
So 4 or 5
Yeah,
years,
she's
4
also
years
right
ago.
around the same time.
Yeah. So about 6 years ago. And
Yep,
so it's
2021.
just, oh, wow. And that's the thing that gets me. Okay. And
Mhm.
I think at some point it'd be nice if judges would kind of come in and say, okay, yeah, no, I get this, but let's take into effect exactly what does this money make it? Because first of all, money's never going to take over, okay, and make everything better. And if it does make it better, then you weren't there to begin with, to be honest. And so
Right.
I'm getting, yeah, okay,
Yep,
because
we're,
yeah,
like,
someone who really
way
can't,
off the
yeah,
tracks
yeah,
here, I'm sorry,
way off
I do
topic.
this. I
So
do this all the
every
time, I'm sorry.
time, every time. So,
The
however, we
train
are
just
coming
ran
up
off
on
the
an hour and
tracks.
a half, and we are coming up. And before I go, what I do, because I will forget to do what Miss Sleuth Mom mentioned in the back,
Mhm.
and since we still have a good number of you here in chat, which by the way, guys, thank you. I honestly thought we'd have like 4 or 5 people here max, and we've done pretty good numbers the whole. So I really thank you.
Mhm.
Um, I can tell you, and I'm going to let Sleuth also say the same, say her plans. I'm trying to figure out how, if I can come back maybe one day a week with work the way it is lately. I really want to find a way that I can come back. So I'm hoping maybe I can kick off one day a week, whether it's this Wednesday idea or another day or whatever. Yeah, Cooter, you lost both of us at the same time pretty much. And we both are like off and on at times and all that. So, but I'm going to try to be coming back. Okay. Things may change because I don't have hours to research like I used to.
Right.
And that's the big
Right.
issue. Yeah.
Mhm.
And but how about you, Sleuth? Anything you wanted to share with that?
I commit to no plans because here's what happens every single time. I'm like, I'm going to do a
I say,
live, and then I never show up.
yeah,
So I commit to no plans. As of right now, I am not going to be scheduling any hours for my job on Wednesday nights, so that we can keep
try.
Wednesday nights open. If you're not able on Wednesday nights, I still plan, I hope, to be able to go
I know.
live. I have an MRI on Tuesday of next week. I am really hoping and praying that I do not end up having to get surgery. Um, but that's, a whole nother
Right.
situation going on. But for right now, we're gonna come on when we can.
Yep.
That's what I'm gonna
Yeah.
commit to. I will come on when I can.
You got it.
Hopefully
You
more
got it.
often than what we
Yeah.
were.
And
Yes.
that's the thing. And if people would like to help us out with research, like I said, that's what I've kind of felt bad because I don't have the time to research
If
anymore.
you guys would like to help
Yeah.
Locomai out by
Right.
sending her research, let me say Locomai, BC, do not swarm my
Not.
inbox. The
Oh my
minute
God. I
that I
love it.
get stressed out or overwhelmed, I'm like, "Welp, I'm never going live again because I can't breathe right now."
Exactly, exactly, and all that. So now, if I can, that has been one. I'm trying to figure out what makes it easier, but we'll figure things out. In the meantime, though, and I may regret everything I just said. Trust me, I may very well regret everything there. However, in the meantime, for those of you who are not first, actually, I do want to say this, guys. There's a number of you guys who have kept your memberships going. That amazes me and it means the world to me that you guys have continued that throughout this whole time. And I really want to say thank you for that. Okay, you guys are beyond, okay, like Seal just, I mean, yeah, loyal beyond everything in the world. I mean, you guys have been amazing with that. But I do want to give away 5 memberships right now. So let's see who we can get as new members right now. And yes, Cooter has been 26 months. Oh my God, you're kidding me. You
Is
are
Cooter even 26 months old yet? Have you been
yeah,
here
like
that
Cooter's
long? No, I'm just
26
kidding.
months. I know exactly. So we are welcoming into the group. We've got, how the hell did that happen? But Jen in Jersey, Mama Bear, Princess Megan, Elsa. For some reason, I just had 3 go to her. That was weird.
She must
And
have 3 different accounts. That's
yeah,
so
that
funny.
works. That
What are the
works.
chances?
Yes, exactly. So welcome to the 3 of you guys. And I'll have a couple more that I could give next week. And but thank you guys so much for all of you guys. Okay. Oh, KK has had woo, whoop, whoop. Yes, 33 months. Dang. Dang girl.
BC, you're singled out on the research thing for a reason,
Yes.
and you know it.
Mm.
Just kidding.
Sleuth has told me about that one before too. She's like, oh, there's someone who loves to research. So, oh my God. So, anything else you want to say, Sleuth, before we log off for the evening?
No, I think I've put my foot in my mouth enough. I'm good.
No, we'll go off in another whole tangent
Right.
very,
Do you
very
really want the
soon.
train to derail again? Come on. There's been enough train derailments. We don't need to.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Mama Bear, at least you got it. That's why I'm happy. So at least you got it. So you're here with us now in Red Rock 31. I just can't believe I've had the channel now. That's what's scary. So
You don't realize you didn't know you had the channel that long? Is that what you just said?
you forget how long you've had a channel running until I was showing someone the
I
other
was gonna say
day.
Gabby Petito was a long time ago. That's
Time
whenever
ago.
I pretty
Oh
much
my
fired
God.
mine up, right around then.
Yeah. I think actually
So,
Ariel was one of my first cases I covered,
yep. Yeah,
and,
she was the
so
first one that I, like, went full blown like, I did a couple Gabby Petito videos just to try to pull some people in,
people
and then
in.
I hit
Yeah,
Ariel's case and
yeah,
Angel Nicole Overstreet. Those were kind of, like,
okay,
my 2
and I was
first.
Monkey. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was Monkey and Ariel were my 2 that I was kinda
Mama
going
bear.
with, so and a Monkey, yeah, so, well, okay, you'll enjoy hopefully, you'll get some good information there, Mama Bear, and also okay, so we will see you guys, oh, KK, yes, sorry, I am gonna stop for this real quick. KK, thank you so much for that, thank you. I don't know how many of you guys remember Mama Jane. Mama Jane Starr was one of my members, one of close friend of ours here on the channel for basically since we started. I mean, she'd come to Cantina and stuff like that. And she passed away a couple months ago. And I just happened to come across it one day. I followed her and one of her family members. So please, still welcome back. Um, please just quick little prayer. If those of you guys who pray, quick little prayer for her and her family. And she meant the world to a lot of us here. And also, thank you, KK, for the reminder there. Thank you so much. And Seal, thank you for subbing up again, my dear. And I know Siren's been here for quite a while also. So thank you. Thank you for the candle for her. So okie dokies. On that note, now that this one has quieted down enough, I guess it's time to go. So I will see you guys next Wednesday over maybe on Sleuth's channel. We'll find out what we do on that one, and I will connect with you guys later. Love each and every one of you. Talk to you later. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.